Hey, good afternoon. How are we all doing today? I'm actually in the conservatory again and it's raining. Nothing new there in Wales. It pretty much rains all the time. Um, and I've got a lovely spot on my chin, so let's just get that out the way before everyone starts commenting. I know, menopause, you still get spots, hormones are still all over the shop. My hair's looking greasy, I know. I was supposed to go this morning to the hairdresser. My appointment has now been changed to later this afternoon. So that's why my hair is still looking a bit of a mess. And my grey is well and truly showing as well. Happy days. Anyway, enough about all that. Today's topic is a follow on from yesterday. It's about your situation, like when you go through menopause, and it's about your confidence, right? It's about how your confidence can be knocked when you go through menopause, or when it first starts, or when you perimenopausal, or you finally get the news, or you realize that actually my body's changing and I'm no longer my hormones are no longer what they used to be. Things are definitely changing. Your body's changing, your hair's changing, you're losing hair. The grey is definitely sprouting through more and more. You no longer know what colour you are between like me, peroxide. I was born blonde once, when I was a baby, I was a blondie. My dad is a dark brown hair, my mum is a blonde, and now I don't know what I am anymore. It's a mixture of everything combined with peroxide, hey? But anyway, I digress. So, menopause and confidence. Should I say when you lack the confidence? Um, Menopause didn't just about change my body, like I said yesterday. It did mentally affect me because my identity. I just thought, well, what am I now then? Because I'm not a mother. I'm. There is a community of us people out there that haven't had children, although there's not a massive community. There are some people of my age that never had children, or whatever, for whatever reason, right? It doesn't matter. Um, I didn't have a child. As much as I wanted to have a child, I didn't have one. And that was because situations didn't happen. I was once married. That's another story for another time, but I'm divorced. I've been divorced now for 5 years. I'm now in a happy, settled relationship, and life's moved on, and now I'm going through the change. So the likelihood now of me becoming a mother is more of a miracle than ever. They say there's a very small chance, but without trying to be too graphic, guys, I haven't had a period in such a long time. It would be a miracle now. That's all I can say. It would certainly feel that way. So never say never. You never know. And I've always said one is enough. But there we are. So anyway, I've never had children. So in terms of my identity as an adult who's now 45, going through the change, hormones are still over the shop because I get the spots still. This is exactly what I'd experience every month with a period. I'd get spots around my chin. And they say that when, women with hormones, they would get spots around this area. I also get spots on my nose as well. That's been more of a recent thing over the last year and a half. Don't know what that is about, but I know that allegedly if you, as a woman, would have spots around here, it's normally to do with your hormones, allegedly. Anyway, so, there's things happening, there's things changing. I am an adult, I'm female, yes, but I'm not a parent. I'm now going through the change, or have been going through the change. It's like, who am I? What am I about? And it's a bit of a weird one, because a lot of people, when I talk to them, they assume I'm a parent. They assume that, I must have had at least one child or experience being pregnant. And I'm like, no, never. I never have. It's just never happened. And so, sorry, I'm trying to log back into my other phone here while I'm talking, because I've got my notes on my phone. You're kind of like trying to find out, where do you fit? Like, do I fit? Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I've ever fitted into anything specific. I have always been me. I've always been a free spirit. I do what I want when I want, within reason, of course, not to hurt anyone or such. But, general speaking in life, I don't have a child to think about. I just have me to think about as such. And yes, I'm in a relationship now, and I think about my other half, yes. But I don't have to be responsible for someone else, barring my partner who I live with. So it's just like, it's weird. It's a weird feeling. I found it weird. Anyway, I don't know about you. If you're going through the menopausal change, did you find it strange when you found out you were, or realized that you were? How did you feel about it? That would be interesting to know. And I just wanted to share, like, my truth as always about how I deal with things, how I cope with things. I talk about it, and like, for me, yes, I can be serious, and I do take things seriously in life anyway. I have got a bit of a serious head on me. However, I've also got a very bubbly, silly sense of humor, quite a crude sense of humor for those that really know me. But that is how I deal with things. And they say that laughter is the best medicine. Well, I have to think of things in a bit of a silly, warped sense of humor way. It's just how I cope. It's my coping mechanism. Not everyone is the same, and I get that. And I'm more mindful as well as I get older about the types of jokes and things that I say or respond to, because not everyone's going to find them funny, and everyone's got their own beliefs and everything else, whatever. The other thing as well is the weight gain. Now, up until my late 20s, I had always lived in the gym since I was 16. I had also did martial arts. So I was a gym bunny and I was into martial arts. So I constantly worked out. I could eat anything I wanted and I never put weight on. I was always extremely toned, fit, in a much smaller size clothing that I'm in now. And I didn't know any different because that had always been me. Life got in the way, a stressful job got in the way. I started basically staying and working longer and not going to the gym anymore. I stopped doing martial arts, and the weight then really did just pour on, and I've been struggling with weight ever since. Fast forward, the change in hormones, and when your hormone levels changes, you end up basically retaining a lot of fat around your middle section of your body. Your tummy gets bigger, you're more bloated all the time, if not all the time. It's really, really hard to lose the weight. And plus, with the lack of sleep or mixed broken sleep that you do happen to experience, if you're lucky to get any sleep, that also can affect your motivation to even want to exercise. It can even affect the thought of even just going for a simple walk. To me, going for a walk sometimes can fill me with dread, and that's not like me at all. But it is since I've gone through the menopausal change, because my levels are just so low. Like, I feel rock bottom with my energy. I really struggle physically to do things. My joints hurt, my back hurts. The weight, the extra weight that I carry, I know does not help. I also sustained a lot of injuries as well, my back and knees, from working in nursing, with mental health, working in mental health secure units, where unfortunately restraint has had to happen on patients where they've been really unsafe, not well, a danger to themselves or others, and so on. And plus working in general wards as well, having to deal with different situations and manoeuvring with patients, and sadly dealing with people that pass as well. You do have to maneuver people who have passed away and prepare them onto their next journey. So unfortunately, that does take a toll on your body, certainly my back and my joints, etc. And that's not to mention, again, with the menopause, the brain fog. As I said before, you're not being able to concentrate, the hot flushes, being uncomfortable, can't cool down. It just makes you feel like you're not yourself. You don't recognize yourself. You feel quite alien to yourself. You feel like out of body in a way to yourself. And it's difficult then to, I suppose, just know what to do, because you just don't know who you are anymore. It's very difficult. And then that can affect, again, your confidence, because you don't know who you are, you've put weight on, you feel invisible, you got brain fog, you can't function, you don't sleep very well, and so on. It's like a constant building upon everything else, and it just impacts everything. And so feeling invisible when you get to 40 plus is quite common, and I don't like that idea or feeling, but it happens, and that's being honest. Also, if I can get my notes back up, because they've just gone off again. See, because I can't remember everything. That's the memory situation. What I like, though, is when I do get to talk to people that are similar to me. Now, a lot of people in my work who are mature and in their 50s, 60s are quite shocked that I am going through the change because, and this is not fishing for compliments or anything like that, but people say to me, oh my God, you don't look old enough to go through it. Well, that's the other stigma that really bugs me. And it's not their fault. It's just the way that we have all been taught as a society about our understanding and lack of education, and the lack of education that doctors are now going through because they're going through old textbooks that tell them that menopause happens when you're in your 50s and 60s. Rubbish. We all know that's rubbish because there's women like myself that start going through the change in their 30s. I have a couple of friends of mine that have had to have hysterectomies in their 30s. And yeah, so that's for a story for another time, possibly. So it's difficult because the stigma is such a taboo subject still, because when I say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm going through the menopause, I'm not functioning how I used to, or my memory isn't what it used to be. Some people say, oh, you're just using that as an excuse. But for those that have never gone through it, I think it's really harsh for people to comment like that. It's the same thing for me when I talk about having migraines. If you suffer with a migraine, you know how horrible they can be, right? It's not just the pain, it's the sickness, it's the not being able to open your eyes. You can't even see, your vision can go. My vision always goes. It's horrendous. My other half suffers with migraines and he gets them really badly. And they're debilitating is the word I'm trying to say. Yeah, so it's just frustrating, I think, is what I'm trying to say. Everyone's ideas and concept about it. You've got some that are really supportive and some that just are not educated at all. And then you get those that think, oh, you're too young or whatever. So hence why I'm here, hence why I'm creating this community. And that's the positive that I'm going to take from it, and life experience and work experience and everything else chucked into the mix as well. So I'm now accepting it. I understand what's going on. I am grateful that I know what's going on. I just will deal with it the best way that I can. Sometimes with humor, sometimes with seriousness, sometimes with talking to people about it. Now it's also about creating this channel and growing this community with people. And also, it's about celebrating the small wins, even if it means that, do you know what? I actually got more than 4 hours sleep last night. That's amazing. Not to be woken up by your bladder or the fact that you're absolutely soaking in sweat because you're having a flush. That's a massive win. I think maybe once a year, I'm being generous when I say this, maybe twice do I actually sleep longer than, I'd say 5 hours. Most nights I sleep anything up to 4 hours a night. So yeah, the tiredness is real. It's constant. The other thing as well is, I think it's important, if you haven't done so already, and this is something I've started to do, and I need to be more consistent with myself, but I do find it really effective when I do it, is journaling. And I know to some people it's a bit airy-fairy to some people, but journaling about jotting down how you're thinking, how you're feeling, what you've experienced. I'm old school anyway. I have a paper diary. I don't just rely on a calendar, on an app. I use an actual diary and I jot everything down about what I'm experiencing, how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, what worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, and just how I'm thinking in general. And I just like to get it out on paper. You don't necessarily need to have a diary. You can just have a notepad and pen, or a piece of paper and a pencil, a crayon, whatever it is you can grab hold of, right? But get it out of here and put it down on paper. Now, you don't have to keep it. You can then burn it. You can then chuck it in the bin, recycling, whatever. But I think it helps. It's quite cathartic to get out of your head what it is you're thinking and feeling and experiencing. You could even reflect on the week that you've had in work or at home, or if you've got children or not have children, your animals, whatever, your family. Not everyone's got a perfect family. I'm certainly one of them. But I think it's very cathartic if you can do that. So that's a positive. And like I say, surrounding yourself with people who lift you up. And it doesn't have to be necessarily with women. It can be with males, I'm not ageist, sexist, whatever. It's just finding your tribe. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just being with people that lift you up. Now, some people don't want to be around people. Some people prefer their own company. I can be either or. I'm very much like, it depends on what I'm doing. I'm very comfortable living on my own. I have lived on my own for many years before. If it wasn't for being with Matthew, I'd be living on my own now. And I was before when I met him. So to be honest with you, I like my own company quite a lot. I'm very comfortable at going into a coffee shop and sitting down and eating and having a coffee or whatever by myself. Um, the January in New Year's Day, in fact, before I met Matthew a few years back, I actually drove to Mumbles in Swansea and I went to a coffee shop there called Verdi's. For those that know, Verdi's is right by not far from the pier in Swansea, and it's right by the seafront. And Verdi's is an Italian coffee shop. It's quite a large coffee shop and ice cream parlour. And I went there and I ordered myself my favourite latte and I ordered a toasted tea cake and I sat outside by myself at a table with my scarf on, my coat. I was all toasty, warmed, with my jumper on and everything, keeping warm because obviously it's winter time. But I was happy to be there and I was just in the moment on my own and I was just people watching, and I absolutely love watching people go by, people walking their dogs, people on their own, kids, cycling along on their new bikes and got their new scooters and things they've had for Christmas, just watching people go by, watching life. And that to me was so peaceful and so calming. And I absolutely loved it. Of course, it's nice to go there with company. If you've got it, great. But at the time when I was single and I'm on my own and I don't have that big, supportive, close family around me, I drove up, in my car by myself and I just did what was right for me. So if you're able to do something like that and you're in the position to, try it, do it. Don't be afraid. I get that not everyone where they live in their areas in their country necessarily can be safe. Or there might not be nothing around for miles and miles and you're not able to get out. I understand that too. But it's adapting yourself to the situation the best way that you can. If I had properly had money with me that time on my own, when I went to that coffee shop, I would have had a proper meal. But I couldn't actually afford to buy an actual meal. I only had enough money on me at the time to buy a coffee and a tea cake. So that it's all about balance, isn't it? It's also about recognizing what your limits are at the time and doing the best that you can at the time. Um, but I still made it work for me. I didn't feel like I was missing out as such. I was a bit gutted that I couldn't have had a meal because I couldn't afford it. But I still enjoyed my favorite coffee there. I still enjoyed the tea cake that I had, and I enjoyed the peace and the fresh air and the people watching. So I didn't feel like I was really missing out. But when I have money, I will go there now and have a proper meal if I want to. If not, I might have the same again. I'm not going to dwell on that, but just to show you that I try and adapt my situation the best way I can for whatever it is that I'm going through. Creating this online business now in travel and building this channel, I absolutely love doing and thrive. I just love it. It's my passion. But ultimately, I just want people to think outside the box if they can. Take time out is what I'm trying to say to you. Don't just worry and think negatively. Try to think positively. Try to think about things that you can do. Stop thinking about what you can't. Try and turn that around is what I'm trying to say. But ultimately, I just want to say thank you for being here. Sorry if my voice isn't quite right. I do have this throat infection or whatever it is. It's all up here. So I feel like I got a bit of a temperature coming on now. So if I'm looking like I'm glowing, it's probably why. It's not actually a flush for once. It probably will happen later though. And what I'll do is I'll send a picture later. I'll post one up of my new haircut or colour or whatever it is I decide to do in the end. I'm not sure yet. I'll have a chat with my hairdresser and I will discuss it with her soon. Anyway, enough of me today talking again, and I will be back tomorrow with another video, and who knows what I'll look like, but you will see clean hair and hopefully something going on with a bit of a style, maybe. You never know. Anyway, guys, thank you for being here as ever. Have a great day. Stay blessed. Take care. Thank you for listening.